Hey, we're going to talk about classical Greece and Alexander in this unit. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the Golden Age of Athens and focus on Greek culture. And we're talking about Greek culture and primarily focusing on the culture of Athens. So the reason why we're talking about Athens is after the Persian Wars, there's a period of time called the Golden Age of Athens. And this is when Athens really begins to flourish and become a superpower. Financially, they're very strong. Culturally, they're very strong. They had a very powerful navy. They become very wealthy. And in this picture, you can see Athens, kind of a picture from the Agora into the Acropolis of Athens. And you can see their architecture and their wealth showing in this picture. And the man talking with the helmet is named Pericles, who becomes the leader of Athens during this time, where Athens becomes very powerful. So under Pericles, they really began to rebuild their city, but they also build an empire stretching their influence all across the Aegean and across the Mediterranean Sea. They start forming alliances with other places and really start to dominate trade in that area. During this time, Athens also becomes the center of Greek culture. And one of the staples of Greek culture was their architecture. And for Athens, they had to rebuild much of their city because it was set on fire by Xerxes, who was the Persian leader during the second wave of the Persian Wars. So they rebuild their city, but they rebuild it in a very magnificent way, a very luxurious way. So they have all these sculptures and buildings glorifying Athens, glorifying the gods of Athens, and really spend a lot of money. And they're also building this giant wall around Athens, which not only goes around Athens, but connects Athens to the sea so that if there is a siege and they try to surround the city of Athens, that they have access to the water. So when we talk about Greek architecture, one of the first things that comes to mind is columns. So it's one of the staples of modern Western architecture. It is really the Greek influence showing here, where you can see the columns being part of many of their most famous temples and buildings in Greece. And you can see a lot of columns in this picture here. So this is a modern day picture of Athens. And on the top there, you can see the Acropolis and the Parthenon. And then down below, you have more of the modern city. So one thing that made Greek architecture look so nice is that their temples were mostly made from marble. And they had a lot of famous temples. The most famous temple was the Parthenon in Athens. And this was built to honor Athena, who was the goddess of wisdom, and she was the protector of Athens. And inside the Parthenon, you had artwork and all sorts of things to honor Athena and show Athens' culture. And one of the most famous parts of this artwork is a statue of Athena, as you can see from the drawing here, which stood over 30 foot tall, which would be over 3 stories tall, and really gave them one of the more famous statues of the time, although other Greek city-states had famous statues as well. Here's a modern-day picture of a statue of Athena. However, this is not actually from the Parthenon in Greece. That is no longer part of the Parthenon in Greece. A lot of Parthenon, although it's still there, and you can see it from this picture here, most of the inside and the roof has fallen in. So this is actually in Tennessee, where they rebuilt a model of the Parthenon as a tourist attraction. So Greek housing was mostly made out of mud brick instead of limestone. Some of the Greek housing was very nice, as you can see in this picture here. But the residential areas weren't really well planned. So when we talk about Alexander and we talk about Greek architecture and planning cities, we talk about having a grid pattern for cities and having a specific layout and planning that out even before you build the city. That wasn't so much the case in the residential areas. So no particular effort was in town planning for the residential areas. And you kind of have a maze of narrow, chaotic streets without really a direct line. And this picture here probably does a better job of showing what that would actually look like, where you can't really go in a straight line very easily, and you might be very easily to get lost. So unlike the Acropolis and unlike the Agora, which were really well planned out, this area of the city was not. Greece is also very well known for their stadiums and amphitheaters. The stadiums is where they'd have their athletic competitions, and the amphitheaters is where they'd have performances such as plays or speeches. Reminder that Greece is the birthplace of the Olympics, and is also the birthplace of drama. So Greek drama had two major forms. You had the tragedy and the comedy. And even when you think of the theater today, you think of these two images of the laughing face and the crying face. So this dates back to ancient Greece. So tragedy is a serious drama, often talks about love or hate or war or betrayal. And usually it has an important person who's gifted with extraordinary abilities, such as Achilles that we learned about in the Iliad. But usually there's a tragic flaw or a hero's downside, such as excessive pride that really causes the hero to fall or have something tragic happen to them at the end. Greek dramas are kind of the basis for a lot of other writing and a lot of other plays, influencing people even such as William Shakespeare and the most famous tragedy of all time, which would be Romeo and Juliet, which is coming later during the Renaissance, after the collapse of the Greek Empire and Rome and everything else. Comedies are more for laughter. They contain scenes of slapstick humor, such as what you see in the Three Stooges, or crude humor. A lot of times they make fun of politicians, what you might see in Saturday Night Live today, or respected people at the time. Greek philosophy really started to emerge after the Peloponnesian Wars, which you will see in a different lesson when we talk about the Peloponnesian Wars. But the Peloponnesian Wars was a bloody civil war between the Greek city-states, with Sparta and Athens really being the two dominant ones fighting against each other. So after the Persian Wars, they really start to, Athens and Sparta really start to become rivals, and that leads to a war involving many Greek city-states. Well, civil wars are never a good thing, and in Athens, after the Peloponnesian Wars, you have a lot of people losing confidence in a democratic government. They began to question their values and really seek some kind of change or what they can do to make things better. And this causes a lot of people to come up with ideas and thinkers. And you have three very famous philosophers here with Socrates, which kind of led the way, Plato, who was his student, and Aristotle, who was a student of Plato, who goes on to tutor Alexander the Great, which you'll learn about a lot in this lesson. So they were determined to seek truth no matter where the search led them. In Socrates' case, it led to his death. And these people were called philosophers because philosophy means love of wisdom, and they are lovers of wisdom. So I have some videos for you guys to watch on the website about Socrates, Plato, and you'll learn more about Aristotle when we talk about Alexander the Great. All right, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know. You can email me or talk to me in class. Talk to you later. Bye.